I'm Maggie. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist with degrees in psychology, theology, and marriage and family therapy, a national certification in dialectical behavioral therapy, and a national certification in integrative mental health. In this video, I'm not looking to diagnose anyone. I'm only willing to offer insight into situations like these. Maggie Thompson is presenting the work titled The Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch, written by J.J. Hurtak. Maggie Thompson is not validating nor supporting Hurtak's views, epiphanies, visions, beliefs, or words. Maggie Thompson is simply presenting the work as written and is attempting to translate this extraordinarily esoteric work to a common vernacular and understanding. Further, Maggie Thompson understands this work to be solely concerning the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and while Hurtak views his work to be the key or keys to uniting all the world's people under one religion, namely Abrahamic, Maggie Thompson does not support this premise whole cloth. However, this work does give depth and insight into the connection of physics, cosmology, biology, and spirituality, which, for the seeker of divine truth, can be invaluable for the discovery of one's place in the universe, and that may be under the hierarchy of Yahweh, the Ancient of Days, or a hierarchy that exists above or beside such deities, or none altogether. Maggie Thompson implores all seekers of knowledge to, letter A, not accept what a person of authority tells you without validation. This includes looking at critiques and the opposing views with an open mind. Letter B, accept that religion, as well as science and politics, is presented as a means of indoctrination and is always presented with the biases of the overall field or system, the authors of texts, and the presenter, whose goals are to convince you of the, quote, truth, end quote, of their premise or premises. Letter C. It is possible to take insight, truths, and information from a biased work. Any body of work for the purpose of deeper meaning and knowledge must be carefully excavated and carved to glean wisdom. And letter D. No work or bodies of work that is believed by a large group or populace of people should be dismissed out of hand simply because you do not believe it. We live in a diverse time where religious belief takes center stage in the governing of the collected masses. To truly understand the barriers and gateways to your personal success and fulfillment, you must accept that believers of any kind can and will do what is necessary to meet their goals. Hello, hello. All right, let's get that pulled down. All right, let's read the key. We're here for the keys of Enoch. We are on key 3-0-9. We're almost there to the end. This is pages 423 to 430. It's a long one. It's a long key. All right, the keys of the universe to come tell us there will be a light exodus from the pyramid-like structure of this universe to the, quote, throne, end quote, of the next universe. Those who have received the, quote, message of deliverance, end quote, from the seraphim will be in the chambers of the earth, which will be opened, and they will be, quote, delivered through the arc of light, end quote, thrown upon the face of the earth by the higher evolution. The, quote, righteous remnant, end quote, will be delivered directly from the abominations of the earth, and this perishable body of time within 12 circulatory star fields, man will ascend through a field of glory by means of a city of light, which aligns and perfects the courses of the luminaries and Earth. Man will walk over time like a biosatellite, moving over a crystalline staircase with a great energy of thanksgiving. Those within, quote, the arc of light, end quote, will pass simultaneously across all 12 faces of our consciousness time zone so as to reveal life within life, membrane within membrane, eye within eye, crystalline system within crystalline system. For at that time of trouble, the righteous will inherit the brightness of the firmament. Clear as mud. Come on now, clear as mud. So before we get into it, let's say hi to some folks. Auntie is here first. Still missing Adric. I saw him last night. Auntie says hi and peace sign. My favorite Auntie. And then Leon, who is referencing a, I guess, political debate that we were on last night. Leon, I think it's suffice it to say you're on my team or I'm on your team. We're on the same team. Unfortunately, I was helping somebody move last night, and so I didn't get to pay as much attention as I would like. But Leon, yes, I did hear you. And, you know, they always have a problem pushing back against you. But I found it funny to say, you know, some of them just want to tell a white woman whatever and say, oh, I checkmated that white girl. They were so thirsty, they needed water and electrolytes and electrolytes. That's good. That's good. So anyway, he is referencing a debate from last night. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for being here. Adrian is here. He says, let's go. And for those of you watching from the cloud, please feel free to say hello. This is the best live tribe on YouTube, bar none. You will be welcomed as long as you're appropriate. And also shout out to the replay gang. So, we're going to use multiple concepts to take her talks excessively, extraordinarily, you just heard it, esoteric, work into something not soteric. I will be critiquing his premises as well as trying to offer some guidance because we did figure out pretty early on that this book is a mix of Christian dispensationalism and Jewish Zionism. So we can kind of dissect each key, figuring out what he's talking about to discern what these groups are up to on a grand scale, at least religiously, using religiosity. All right. The full reading is available on this channel. Sorry, I pushed a button and I shouldn't. So let me get back to where I need to be. There we go. Oh my gosh. All right. There's a full reading available on this channel. You can watch it before, after, or not at all, because I'm going to read the highlights. So let's get into it. All right. Key 3-0-9 refers to the reality of new biological systems merging with their parent models of intelligence in living biosatellite cities of light. In this process of space-time overlap, the thricefold nature of the human experiment is placed in direct conjunction with the Council of Nine as we move 2 or more dimensions beyond this present dimensional set into the dimensions of the higher evolution. Human experiment? I mean, is this transhumanism again? Like he's talked about this before. So let's keep going and see what he has to say. All right. People who understand the visitations of higher intelligence will be moved into these safe areas or chambers of the earth, which will be opened. There they will be, quote, delivered, end quote, through the arc of light thrown upon the face of the earth by the higher evolution. To me, this sounds like Project Bluebeam. Have you guys heard of Project Bluebeam? All right, so sorry, my dog is right under the desk. Keeps hitting my chair. So sorry, I'm moving her along. All right, so Project Bluebeam comes from Sergei Monast, okay? He published some pretty severe allegations in the mid-90s. So Monast claimed that NASA, the UN, and global elites were conspiring to stage a fake second coming using advanced holograms and psychological warfare to usher in a unified new world order. Funny enough, we see a lot of this kind of trying to fake like it's end times and apocalypse and all that happening now. So, um, he called it the New Age religion of the Antichrist. Okay. So, what Monas said is that there's 4 phases of Project Bluebeam. Okay. Number 1, release of previously hidden archaeological discoveries, which is it's happening all the time, but they're hiding the good stuff. And release of fake discoveries to discredit other religions. So we won't know which is which, right? Is it stuff that's been hidden before, or is it fake to discredit other religions? And don't we actually see this now with information coming out about Egypt, about the Hebrews, about Native Americans, about Arabs, and about Gobekli Tepe, and Atlas in Africa? Like, we are questioning Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and even Hinduism to a certain extent. We even question voodoo, hoodoo, Zoroastrianism, and many other religions at this point. And it seems like we are currently in the midst of a religious and spiritual identity crisis. And Kevin says Project Bluebeam is a man made distraction from the true ascension. Could be. It could be. Because, what Monas was saying is that it is a fake one. Like, they're purposefully making it a fake one. So, okay, so phase 2 is a massive global light. I'm sorry, a massive global light show known as the hologram stage. Okay. Satellites will project 3D images of religious figures onto the sky. Different regions will see different Messiah figures. And the United States will see Kenny Loggins Jesus, right? The Messiahs would speak the language of the area, and then they slowly merge into one God, which will be the New World Savior. Leanne says, I hold the sky as with Atlas and drop it on their head. That's why his nickname is Malice. Okay. So Monas said they would use directed energy lasers, ionized atmosphere projections, and low frequency mind control waves. And all that sounds really fantastical, but we know that they have lasers, right? We're already using that, and weather control technology, and mind control energy waves. Like, they're already doing those things. So all that has been declassified in CIA documents. But let's talk about an ionized atmosphere, or how we know an ionized atmosphere, the northern lights, or the auroras, or the aurora borealis. Those are ways in which we know the ionized atmosphere. So when the atmosphere gets ionized, that's what we call it, okay? When particles in the atmosphere are ionized, they release light in specific wavelengths of green, red, and purple, okay? These atmospheric plasma, that's the lights, can create shapes and movement. So this is why it seems like they move. And if you talk to people who live in areas where there are the northern lights, they will tell you that if you talk to them, if you sing to them, they will move in reaction to you. I don't know if that's true or not. I've never done it. Plus, it's really cold where the northern lights are, so that's not a me thing. So it can be used for this phase, though, that he's talking about. And what have we been seeing lately? The northern lights are now reaching Oklahoma in the United States. Has never done that before, right? And HAARP, HAARP, you guys can look that up. They've released their research, and they can heat a patch of ionosphere to create artificial auroras on command. So they're already doing this, right? So with advancements in drone technology, isn't it at least plausible or possible that drones could emit charges into the atmosphere to create a glowing, moving, synchronized image? At least something to consider. It's something I've thought about. Because if you go to those drone shows and the way they light up in the sky, they can do a lot of stuff synchronized. It's synchronized by a computer, you know? Um, Kevin said, Jesus said, if you look to the sky to save you, the birds will precede you. Don't disagree. Phase 3, artificial telepathy. So this uses ELF, which is the low frequency waves, to put messages into people's minds, hearing internally the words of God while this is happening. Okay. So it's not that the sound is coming outward, it's like hearing voices, right? It'll be projected inward. Okay. Leon says they claim that we can see them in the south now, but there's too much light pollution from cities to see them. Actually, I'm almost to Oklahoma, and you can see them here. It's happened here. So I think maybe getting away from the city would be good to be able to see them, but people in Oklahoma, could see them too. All right, so hearing internally the words of God. All right, it may sound impossible, but there is talk about a voice of God weapon. Excuse me. DARPA is doing research into brain interfaces, and the CIA and others have released information about military acoustic projection. Okay. If this is what's released, though, I want you to think about how much further ahead is the real tech that they're working on. If they've already released that they can do military acoustic projection, meaning that they can project acoustical sounds into somebody, bone conducting, right? Yeah, Adrian says last month we saw them here in Kansas. Yeah, yep. So phase 4 is orchestrated global catastrophes. So like artificial earthquakes, directed weather events, fake aliens and UFO sightings, and technological breakdowns. Seen a little bit of that, okay? This would lead to accepting a one world government as protection. This would lead to the, mass surveillance, maybe even pre-crime, things like that as a means of safety, okay? We would have no economic independence, right? And it seems as if we're heading there already, right? Because we would have no national sovereignty because it would be one world order. So this lines up with a lot of ancient texts about a false god with false prophets and manufactured omens. These are written about in old texts, okay? It's in the Sumerian texts, biblical literature, and Revelations, right? Jesus even warned about this. It's in the Islamic eschatology of Dajjal. Never pronounced that right. Dajjal. It's in the Hopi Blue Star prophecy and the Gnostic warnings about archons deceiving humanity, right? Like it's written about all across the globe in ancient times, right? They didn't have internet and they weren't calling each other. So I'm going to read this one again because this is what it sounds like to me. People who understand the visitations of higher intelligence will be moved into these safe areas or chambers of the earth, which will be opened. There they will be delivered through the arc of light thrown upon the face of the earth by the higher evolution. Doesn't that sound like that? All right, Kevin says, I think that when they say they can project voices inside a person's brain could potentially be a psyop to distract from the pineal gland and true telepathy. I think I don't know if technically it would be it would be a psyop because you would think you're crazy. So, and obviously it would take away from your own discernment, your own thoughts, your pineal gland, your own beliefs, and any type of telepathy that you might have. Okay. So this sounds like Project Bluebeam to me, and it sure seems like we are headed towards a manufactured apocalypse. I've said this many times, right? So let's keep going. Okay. Some will ascend in bodies of light to spiritual planets, while others will keep their physical form and will be transferred by biosatellite cities to advanced kingdoms of the physical spiritual domain. So, doesn't that sound like the rapture? Like they're going to be transported through the sky, you know? And you guys know where the rapture came from, right? It's not in the Bible. It was never in the Bible. So, and really it was never taught in Christianity, Judaism, or even medieval theology. So the rapture comes from one guy, John Nelson Darby. He was the founder of the Plymouth Brethren. And yeah, it is kind of what it sounds like, right? He created the rapture narrative in the 1830s after there were several Christians in a series of visions from different groups. Okay. The most important one that he really relied on was from Margaret MacDonald. Okay. She had a vision that believers were taken away before the end times. Again, this is in the 1830s. Darby incorporated the visions into his theology, right? Into his theory. Okay. The myth of the rapture went mainstream in the Schofield Reference Bible in 1909. Now, think about that. Okay. This is a long time after Jesus died, and nobody was teaching anything about the rapture or thinking anything about it. It was not in the Bible. Nobody was doing anything with it until this dude. Okay. The footnotes in the Schofield Reference Bible taught Darby's rapture theology like it was part of the biblical text. It was this Bible that became the doctrine of American Christianity, right? It was spreading dispensationalism like wildfire. So the interesting part is how the rapture became a tool of the colonial Zionist imperial supremacy, okay? It justified the Western Empire, sanctified Zionist territorial claims, erased non-white suffering, right? Racialized the apocalypse, and excused global violence because, prophecy. So when I say things sound like the rapture, I don't believe in the rapture. Yeah, the ascension is Revelation 20 and on, Kevin says. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, the program 8033-45 provided, quote, Israel, end quote, with all of its potential beauty as a model for millions of spiritual colonists who could create out of planetary waste a verdant, paradisical community. This community was to serve as a model for spiritual resurrection for thousands of similar biosatellite communities preparing for other planetary worlds. So the 8033-45 is a gematria code. We've lightly touched on that, right? But the important part is the rest of the verse, okay? Provided Israel as a model for millions of colonists who could create a paradise community, a model for thousands of communities. Leon says he also doesn't believe in the rapture. Yep. Okay. I truly believe they believe this, that the Zionists believe this, that the global elitists believe this, that Israel is a model for millions of colonists who could create different paradise communities, right? They've Over time, they've continued to perfect colonization, genocide, and exploitation, right? Israel may just be their shining achievement. And look at what Trump and the rest of them were trying to do for Israel. Like they were creating, what were they calling it? The next Dubai in Palestine? Like, so I truly think they believe this. All right. And when the harvest is proclaimed, the righteous physicals with the sign of Yahweh's name upon their third eye shall be taken up from their fields. And here he's bringing up a mark on the forehead again, which he's talked about before, right? This key seems to be all about being the special ones, right? Being the chosen ones, the special ones. So making clear distinctions between the sycophants of the great white brotherhood and the others, everybody else, right? Why does religion continue on the supremacy kick? We see this amongst so many religions right now. It's this like we're on this moral superiority kick. It is not like Jesus in the slightest, right? It's always tied to entitlement, right? It's I'm this race, white, so all the land, right, that I see before me is mine. I'm male, so all the people I see before me are mine. I'm God's chosen, so everything I don't even see is mine too. I'm this religion, so nobody but God can hold me accountable. In fact, I can commit any atrocity I want as long as I do it in God's name. And that even says that in the Old Testament, that it's murder unless you do it in God's name. I get that, Kevin. I get that the third eye is the pineal gland and not on the forehead. However, when the third eye is represented in art, it's here. And then also people who are Hindi also have a mark there to represent the third eye. It's a representation. Leon says, a model of paradise for the elites. Right. Every ism, and they're directed towards a belief for elites. Elites are, we created a civilized society, so we are chosen. It only took the death of 100 million this time. Yeah, just like the Pharisees and Sadducees. Good point. So as soon as you think that your religion, your political party, your race, your gender, your anything makes you inherently superior to others, you've lost the plot. Do you know why Sodom and Gomorrah burned? I used to teach this. No, it was not about homosexuality, no matter how much your pastor tells you it is. Yes, homosexual sex was going on, but so were orgies, and so was a lot of child rape. All of that was rampant. Okay. So what does the Bible say? Ezekiel 16:49-50. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom, pride. Doesn't say gay sex. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness in her and her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy, and they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore I took them away as I saw good. Now we can say abomination, but I just told you there's a lot of stuff going on, rampant. And before me means in front of me, out in the open. So pride, gluttony, and excess, laziness and decadence, neglecting the poor and the vulnerable, arrogance. And they did it out in the open where God and everybody could see it. They were haughty. They didn't care. They were unrepentant, meaning that they were not ashamed. They were oppressors. It was specifically brought up how they treated the poor and the vulnerable.
They were oppressors, and they viewed themselves as above the people they harmed, and that there would be no recompense from anyone. But don't we see this now? This all keeps coming back to what is going on now. We are set against each other, and we attack from our moral high ground. We decide that we have the right answer and we have the moral high ground, and we bark at and bite other people because we're on a moral high ground, right? I am not saying to allow anyone to harm you ever, not at all. I'm asking you to evaluate your superiority. Is it factual, right? And do you use it to harm people or help people? If you are privileged, do you use it to harm people or to help people? Because even doing nothing with it is still harming people. I guess it's time to start asking at this point, what would Jesus do? Right? Like this is a good time to ask the question, right? Not the Kenny Loggins white American Christian Jesus, but the rabble rouser, the lover, the teacher, and the advocate. Because I'm pretty sure paying taxes, eating crap food, arguing on the internet, and working to make other people more rich seems pretty antithetical to the life and teachings of Jesus. Like it's antithetical to being human. We were not made to pay taxes, eat crap food, argue on the internet, and all of our labor go to make people rich. That's anti-human, okay? But the only guidance I can give this time that I really came up with, that discernment is key. Just like we're talking about the third eye and the fake things and things being put into your head, discernment is the key all the time. Pay attention to your instincts, and above all, guard your humanity. Because no matter what gets put into your head by anyone in any way, if you guard your humanity and you stick to your humanity, you won't end up like Sodom. If you hold on to your humanity, that's the most important thing, because too many people have already given up theirs. All right. Thanks for listening tonight. So this coming Sunday is going to be part 3, finally, of the Magadems. So Adrian Hicks is going to be my guest again. Thank you, Adrian. And we're going to look at a lot of the deeper things that happened that led us there, right? Like there's just a lot, and there's a lot in history. So we're going to be talking about that. Adrian's going to take the lead on that because he's such a history buff and so smart. So he's going to take the lead on that. And then next Wednesday, we'll continue with the keys of Enoch. We'll be on 3-1-0. And the final one is 3-1-9. So we're getting very, very close. But I hope you guys have a good Wednesday. And if I don't see you this coming Sunday, I hope to see you next Wednesday. But right now, I'm going to show you a picture of my dog.
Please like the video if you haven't already. It really helps the algorithm to know what kind of things you like. Share where you think it's appropriate, especially to someone who you think needs to hear it. And last, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you want to break down complex concepts that make the esoteric not so teric, helping you on your journey to become your most authentic self. Let's uncover the universe together.